Hello everyone, this is David with Gollivan Property Services, back here with another Blackberry mulching video, and like always, this project is super unique. Each project has its own pluses and its minuses, and in this case, this project is unique because the blackberries were going up into this person's house. So unfortunately, this homeowner had to have surgery done, and after the surgery, they were physically unable to do any certain maintenance, I guess landscaping part of it, on their property. And what ended up happening is that within a couple of years, these blackberries, they just sprouted up and they grew like crazy. And it wasn't only the blackberries, there was also a bunch of salmon berries, there were a bunch of other small saplings, other small trees. As you can see in the video, a little bit later on, you'll see there's a pretty large variation in the type of growth that's the type of vegetation that's present in the area. And even with the recovery after the surgery, the homeowner still had a really hard time trying to do the physical part of this maintenance. They explained to me that the muscles weren't properly recovered, and basically it was a really tough situation for them. Not only a tough situation because they couldn't do it physically, but because they're watching the yard slowly disappear day by day, week by week, month by month. And they got in contact with me, I would say, at a really good time, at a really perfect time. The reason why is because the blackberries are at a point where they're already up against the house, they were up against the railings, they were just basically everywhere. If they had a couple of extra months after that, they would have just sprang up and then probably would have doubled in size, and this entire situation would have been twice as hard. But thankfully they did contact me at a good time. The growth wasn't as bad, it wasn't as thick, it wasn't as nasty, so we were able to go in and take care of everything for them. Another issue the blackberries actually presented was that the local utility company, there was a electric pole over there with the meter. They were having trouble coming in and reading the meter. They apparently have like monthly visits they do just to do meter checks, and due to the fact that they couldn't access the meter calmly without walking into a bunch of blackberries, this homeowner was also facing a potential fine. I'm not sure how much that fine would have been, but it would have been something, on top of all this problem that the homeowner was already facing. The blackberries, the blackberry invasion, the salmon berry invasion, just this total mess would have just gotten even messier. And after we finished talking with the owner, we got to work. The blackberries, they actually weren't as bad due to them mostly being young. A lot of this was, like I mentioned, a vegetation that grew within the past 2 to 3 years, so it wasn't really fully matured. Probably the biggest issue was probably the salmon berries. Towards the bottom at the stumps, they were actually quite solid. Like I felt like I was doing some work there with the mulching blade. But even with that, it did take a little bit longer with the salmon berries, but everything else went super smooth. And that's another big reason why, when blackberries grow, why you want to take advantage of the young growth and cut it down then instead of waiting for it to grow a little bit more. Maybe some people might think that they're saving some money or they're saving some time. No, when blackberries are small, when they're young, that's the best time to clear them. That's the best time to cut them down, whether you're using a weed eater, a hedge trimmer, or maybe you have a mulching blade already. While they're young, while they're small, that's the best time to deal with them. And if you have the opportunity, if you live here in the Pacific Northwest, take advantage of the time while they're young and cut them down so that your life will be a lot easier. And I did actually make a deal with this homeowner. So I mentioned to them, if this video blows up on YouTube and the YouTube ad revenue starts coming in, then I will absolutely for free come back and do more work for them. They have other areas in the property that do need it. They have other areas where the blackberries are coming in, the salmon berries are coming in, there's a bunch of saplings and stuff, and I would like to do all of that, and this is where you guys can help. If you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, help boost this video with the YouTube algorithm. Your part will help this homeowner, have potentially all their work get done, for free. And that's something I'd really like to do, but we need your help to do that. So please do the following: like the video, comment, subscribe, and enjoy the rest of the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoy the rest of the video. Bye.